When did you know you wanted to be a tattooist?
Yeah, I definitely saw it and chose it as a prospective lane. Like I think probably when I was still in the Navy. So I don't know if you know that. I was a sailor in the Navy for nearly 11 years before tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, obviously sailors and tattoos have a long history and have gone together, for a lot longer than, in, I guess, like more modern and Western times. But yeah, it's very much going and sitting and being in those environments with my mates that was sitting for long sessions and getting tattoos and sort of either watching, observing a little bit if like it was allowed. Often it was, often it wasn't. That was a little bit of inspiration, but definitely after I went and got my own first tattoo and was much more immersed in that environment because I was just stuck there for an entire day and multiple sessions. I think that was when I was like, yeah, I could do this. Yeah, and that was probably early 2000s was when I started getting tattoos. So
Yeah. What was it about it that made you think you could do it, or that fit you?
Probably just that it was definitely like an adaptable pivot, because my art background was more graffiti, sort of came up in the sort of hip hop scene, and that was definitely one sort of lane and avenue where I'd sort of shined. As well as music, I sort of pursued music and stuff for a while. But yeah, like there had been a few guys in the scene that had kind of made that leap and were sort of having some areas of success. But it was also around the same time where, in general, things were getting a little bit more accepted. So it's like when you started seeing areas like this, even though this area has definitely always been a little bit more bohemian and alternative, it was definitely where you started to see that more of a sprawl and explosion where like every pub, club and cafe started to want to have like street art themed style decorations, you know? Like both myself and my bro were doing that as well on the side. So that started to be a thing, and we were both still in the Navy. Yeah, it's definitely planted the seed from there that could be a lane and avenue outside of the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the transition from being like military to being a tattooist like?
It's strange because I definitely had like a plan, albeit loose, in my head. It's like, all right, I'm going to magically find this perfect apprenticeship opportunity, get that all locked in, take all of my leave and all of my long service leave so that I was going to be getting paid that Navy gravy money for as long as possible, where, you'd be in that pocket that you'd normally be absolutely slumming it, and making no money as an apprentice. And kind of more by accident than by design, that ended up still happening. But it definitely wasn't because of anything that I planned. It just like the stones happened to tumble that way. Because I feel like, I think it was maybe June, July, like a mid-year. I'd already put like the type of contract that I was on. I had to give them 12 months notice if I wanted to leave.
With the
military. So I'd already done that.
Yeah.
And like that was like in March of whatever year it was. And about mid-year is when my 10 years was up, and like both already had accumulated lots of regular leave, but that's when that 3 months long service leave hit the account as well. And as much as I wanted to be mature about it, I feel like a second that was in my account, it was kind of like I was like a ticking time bomb. I was just rocking up to work like, give me an excuse, like I think I maybe lasted 3 weeks, and someone like just in my hierarchy, like my immediate boss, was a dick to me, and I was like, cool, hold that thought, tap, 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 here's my leave form, tap, 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 here's my long service leave form, PS, this is my last day, fuck you, and they quite correctly and indignantly said, oh, you can't do that. I was like, cool, hold that thought. And I went to like the top of the hill on the base, and the captain of the base at that time was someone that I'd served with on a ship in a sort of more wartime situation. And so there's a much more of a personal bond there. And yeah, like he's like, anytime you need to see me, Mac, just come in, no worries, open door policy, walk straight in. I went, this is what I want. He's like, are you sure? I said, yes. He signed it, and I went all the way down the chain of command instead of up, which is what I was supposed to do. So like that person that pissed me off is the first person that was supposed to sign it on the way up. But I kind of went all the way down and got everyone except them to sign it, and kind of was like, they all signed it because they all fell in line as soon as they saw the captain had already signed it. And it was just like, I don't care if you do or you don't. Like,
yeah, it's done.
It's done. See ya. And it was just like the closest that you can get to that feeling of quitting in that environment, basically. So I was like, I was still technically in the Navy, but I was like, fucking see ya. And that was my last working day, pretty much.
Wow. And
yeah, I sort of made that last longer than anticipated and expected. And I was like just starting to get, obviously was an absolute reprobate after a while, because I just still getting paid Navy money and had nothing to do and no prospects. And it was still, a little bit young and dumb and reckless. But yeah, was just starting to get to that point where I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to look for a real job here.
Yeah.
You know? And like that realistic panic sort of set in, and like within like days of that sort of realization, I had a fellow sort of acquaintance I knew through hip hop scene. It's like, oh, you still looking for a job in the tattoo industry? And I was like, hell yeah. And he's like, can't promise anything. It's definitely not an apprenticeship. It's counterhand, part-time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, shut up. I'll take it.
Okay.
And I took that opportunity. It was just cash in hand, working 3 days a week, just basically the days that he didn't want to work, because he was the other sort of apprentice there. But we were lots of days that we were there together as well. I just inserted myself and kind of made myself indispensable in that position. I had a dodgy bipolar Polish biker boss that came in every day, in a bluster of cocaine, and was like, I really wanted to hire a hot chick with big tits, so you might not have a job tomorrow. And he was not lying. And so, like that was a constant like air of tension where it's like, all right, I'm just going to keep making myself indispensable, keep learning, blah, blah, blah. And those people did come and go. I remained and just, that's sort of forged ahead from there.
What do you do during a tattoo apprenticeship? In
that experience, basically, I was absolutely kind of like the strong but submissive bitch for absolutely anything and everything that the shop and everyone that worked there wanted or needed. It's like, we need this, it's like, because it was also never properly stocked or properly supplied. So it was me running across to Coles or Woolies or something to buy razors and Vaseline or, cleaning products or paper towel or toilet rolls or whatever it was. It was just that kind of mania on a daily basis, because nothing was sort of very professionally or regularly supplied. It was just the supply levels ebbed and flowed on a daily basis, because it was just basically a little cash piggy bank for the boss. So you come in and like pull cash out of the safe daily, and if there wasn't any, would just be over your shoulder sweating you. It's like, oh, like, did you get paid for that job yet? I'm like, no, because I'm clearly doing it still. Like, so
were you on the tools straight away, or like how long?
Fairly quickly. As opposed to like a lot of people that have a gradual process for good reason, but it also depends on the environment and how much tools and equipment are available to you. So there's a lot better quality like types of fake skin and stuff now that you can learn on. It's certainly not the same as human skin, and it's not the same texture, but can get you there as a stage of progression. I was more kind of blessed because of the areas and stuff that I come from. Like, I've moved around a lot, but I've definitely sort of grew up and known a little bit in sort of southwest Sydney and out that way, like Cabramatta, Liverpool, and yeah, all the little punk and skater hardcore kids from out that way. All they needed to hear was free, and they were on that train for an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long they needed to be, and they'd sit around and wait all day if they had to. So the shop was open from 10 till 10. That meant I had to be there at 9 to clean and set everyone up and make sure everything was right, make sure it was supplied. Shop's open, and then the boss had a policy, even though I had started to become quite good, yet I wasn't officially allowed to be like just tattooing customers for money yet. So while I was still the apprentice, I wasn't allowed to tattoo on shop time. So I was the gopher bitch for that 12 hours, running around looking after everyone else, and then I'd start tattooing.
And the shop was closed.
And the shop was closed, tattoo, until 1, 2 in the morning, depending on how late I stayed. Some days I just went stuff it and just crashed on the couch, and the day started again. But after I got better and was making money and had to charge, like heaps of them remained sort of loyal clients, which is like a nice bonus as well. Yeah.
How did you start to develop from doing like Flash, or like those first moments of things? Were you doing Flash at first, or?
Yeah, very much. So I don't know if you remember or sort of bore witness to it personally. There was definitely kind of an explosion, I want to say around the sort of 2010s in popular culture, definitely in sort of like certain music scenes and cultures of, like old school Western style sailor Flash trad tattoos. Obviously, me coming off the back of having just been an actual sailor, I thought, all right, like that seems like a fairly swift and easy transition to start doing that style, and it was what was popular at the time. So like for the longest time I thought that was just going to be my niche in my pocket, and that'd be fine, and that's sort of what I stuck to mostly while I was there at that first shop. And it was only after like leaving that, sort of transitioning from there, and having a little bit of my own creativity, I definitely started to do different things. I had a little private space for a while, and then I went up to Queensland, and definitely after I started working up there, and I guess
where in Queensland?
The fella, he's very much renowned and well known in the tattoo world now, but the fella that did my first tattoo, Rhys Gordon, whenever I just needed help or like a bit of guidance or direction, or even who to talk to, he was always quite forthcoming. So when I said I wanted to go to Queensland, he's like, go to this guy, tell him I sent you. And I was like, all right, sick. I did that. Turned out, long story short, when it was time to me actually go and start working there after I'd already moved and got a house and everything, it's like, someone stuffed up. It was probably me, but we've now hired for the season, and we don't have a spot for you.
Space. Yeah.
I was like, motherfucker, and literally, within a like sort of 12-hour turnaround, he felt so bad for that situation. He gets back to me and is like, look, I know you've really traveled far and been through some more deals already, but if you're willing to travel a little bit further, my best mate Dwayne up in Cairns also has a shop and needs some people. I gladly recommend you. Sick. And that's how I ended up working in Cairns for over 3 years.
Wow.
So I shot up there, and it was definitely the absolute best thing for me creatively, because one, like, I find I know and understand it much better now, because I was sort of late diagnosed of many different types of spicy brain things, and so I'm autistic and ADHD among other things, but like I definitely those two things interact a lot in both my creative process and how I've gone about things in my life. But I definitely feel like, at least in my early life, like that kind of crucible, being thrown in at the deep end and having to produce something really quickly, so, and also something that's permanent, is like very much the sort of situationship where I would shine. The sort of same scenario when I was in the military, like when I was actually, bells and whistles and talking to 8 different people internally, externally, helicopters and submarines, and everything's going to shit. Absolute vision of calm, and that was like peace and happiness, and it was just zen in my brain, and just octopus arms, just doing all of the things. But like put me on a shore base with nothing to do and weekends free, and I was an absolute shit fight, and I struggled and
what was
would
your
be
role
late.
in the Navy?
I was like my core training and role. I was what's called a CSO, so combat systems operator.
Okay.
And specialized in sonar. I was trained in like radar and EW stuff, lots of different things. But it's definitely the type of role that job is only relevant in that pocket of absolute direct sort of an active warfare scenario. There's no demand for killing submarines or something, on the outside world or on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So you end up doing lots of other different things anyway. But like in that pocket of doing that thing, like, vision of calm, and could do basically any job in that room, no problem. But like put me on a shore base with too much free time, like, and I was a wreck.
From a technique point of view, how would you describe the difference between like tattooing and street art or graph?
I feel like there are definitely some parallels, at least particularly from the perspective of the general framework of a tattoo. And if you look at, like, definitely it's easiest portrayed in, like, say, very traditional sort of stickery tattoos, where it's got a defined outline, coloring, shading, and those parallels definitely carry over to your more traditional elements of graffiti as well. If it's you're more sort of just standard kind of wild style piece, and it's got a bold outline and shadow work and stuff like that. But the approach is kind of the opposite, where a tattoo, you're going to do all the line work and that bold framing first, whereas I feel like say a piece that you're doing on the wall, you're going to do your SketchUp, you're going to do all your fill, your background, and then your that outline and all that stuff that defines it, you're going to do last. And then your little highlights and whatever. So similar principles, but kind of reverse approach.
This is a bit specifically for my curiosity, but when you're first tattooing on skin early on, is there, like, how do you get used to the blood and that you're causing someone pain while you're doing it?
I think definitely that, like, some elements definitely help to be a bit neurodivergent, because I was kind of like can easily dissociate from stuff like that, at least at that stage. I definitely find it harder to because I've gone and done too much therapy. It's just like, I miss dissociating. Like,
for
just
sure.
like, what a happy holiday that was. Like, it's like I've gone and gotten too present. But I think also because I was coming into it directly from such a visceral and an intense environment of the military, like I kind of, even just day-to-day things like like hazing and stuff that they were trying to do, I'm like this is amateur hour hazing. Like I've done actual hazing,
for sure,
or I've definitely experienced mountains of it. It's just a very different environment, and to have come through to then dive into that, it was easy to not like have too much concern for this minor thing that's definitely going to be over soon. Like like not particularly phased, but like I definitely feel like as the years wore on, and probably the therapy that we talked about had something to do with that. I definitely became much more empathetic, and yeah, to both my clients, experience as well. Where definitely early on, I genuinely wasn't too fast. It was just like had that quick brief like I talked about. I've
Yeah.
never done this before. Yep, sweet. Just dip it and
We're
rip
getting
it.
in where,
Dip
yeah,
it and
yeah.
rip it, and like we're learning together. You're learning that pain sucks, and I'm learning that was definitely way too deep.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you start to like develop your personal style as a tat artist?
I think I definitely like, and I would have an in joke because I traveled around a lot once I did start to like move and develop in different skill sets in different things that I definitely found or felt more confident to be portable and go and just walk into, like cold call, walk into other places in other countries like, hey, like you're looking for anyone, because I definitely feel like I developed a much more diverse skill set from that time working in Cairns, because a very busy touristy street shop environment. So yeah, it was just very blessed with just a constant stream of work, and as a result, yeah, like improve your skill set and techniques and stuff. And like used to walk into any shop when I did like come in as a guest artist, it'd be like, hey everyone, I'm going to steal your secrets. Okay, bye.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yep.
I definitely would. Like, I feel like there's like at least one thing that I've taken from every single person I've ever worked from, whether it be it's like, oh, like they do that way. Like, that makes sense,
Yeah.
like just might be the tiniest things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is that a norm in the industry?
I think so in some ways. Like, that you get some people that are very, kind of not narrow-minded or ego-driven, but they like have a singular focus of like their chosen style, and like that's all that they care about. And certainly at points and at times in the tattoo industry, that might have been a prosperous and marketable way to be and to operate. I definitely think that those kinds of people are finding it harder now. If I don't work, I don't eat. So if like getting good at that thing means that I eat better, and getting good at that thing means that I eat better, and like like that, like one trick pony over there can only do that. Sick. I'm going to do his tricks and his tricks and his tricks and his tricks.
So you've got a toolbox full of them.
So I've got that, like so, and like in my mind, that's kind of what I wanted to do, and definitely what I ended up doing when I did get to travel, because like I could confidently walk into shops and they'd be like, ask if they, had any space. Because very much in the US market, it's a thing here too, but it's very much across all industries. I don't know if you've ever noticed in the US market, they tend to be very specialized. Like, it's like, this is what I do. Doesn't matter whether it's food or coffee or whatever. It's like, oh, you want a coffee? You got to go to the coffee place. Like you want a donut? You got to go to the donut place. This is the best donut shop. And it's like, why don't you just have a shop that has coffee and donuts?
Which, there's very Australia. It's like you go
you walk
somewhere,
into
you want to
any
get
cafe,
everything.
Yeah, like you might get a dud meal every once in a while, but you can fairly confidently walk into any cafe and know there's going to be like a spread of options, and they're all going to be pretty damn good, and the coffee's going to be mad. The same can be sort of said for the tattoo industry, where it's just like, all right, like you walk into a shop and they'll have a realism guy, and they'll have a traditional guy, and they'll have a fine line guy, and they never really dabble outside of that.
Okay.
In general.
Yeah.
So walking into a shop and be like, and what style do you do? I'm like, what do you need? I'll be that. And that's what I wanted to be, and I feel like I did get to there. So that was
when you are traveling as a sort of roaming tattoo artist, are you calling ahead and like booking in to be a like guest?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of times you would reach out. It's kind of, I guess, on my career very much started right at the tail end of like magazines and like physical media still being the go-to source of promotion or getting your name out there or being like a mad dog famous. You know, it's like if you're in a magazine, you made it. You know, like, and same goes for music and other industries. It was kind of like right at that sort of time frame, like so was that like late '09 is when I first started working in the tattoo shop.
Yeah.
So yeah, sort of very quickly in those next couple of years, it started to be that shift. It was like like the first iPhone was out, and like, and then like social media and the quality of even the quality of phone photos, because everyone had a camera that they were taking those the pictures of their work with, or trying to, and hoping that they came out okay, and go like shifting through that dynamic and riding that wave. So I've always been quite tech savvy, so I picked those things up quickly, and sort of networking that way. So I feel like even definitely the tail end, if it still existed, the tail end of my MySpace probably started to have some tattoo photos on it as well.
Yeah, cool.
So it's like that. Yeah. That's the kind of pocket of the era that it was at where we started, and to where we're at now. It's a wild transition of technology and media and networking and stuff like that.
And on the like other side of that, how did you personally decide what shops you wanted to work at? Is like, I assume like with any industry, there's a word of mouth about what shops are good and have a good kind of environment to be in, and are good for the customer and good for the like artists.
Yeah, definitely. I think early on in your career, or at least early on in my career, definitely, you didn't really have heaps of choice. It was more about throwing as much poo at the wall as you can, and seeing what sticks. She was just like, trying to like even get those opportunities, or even like looking for an apprenticeship. Like, I've got no idea how many shops I walked into, how many emails I sent, how many details and stuff that I left. And I was definitely quite naive at the time and didn't have enough. I got some positive direction. So the fellow that I knew of, again, through graffiti industry and hip hop connections, but very much was a known person in the tattoo world, Brad Barco. He had his own shop up in Newcastle at the time, and he was said that all of my art was mad. He's like, this is a little cool on it, but draw some tattoo shit. Why hadn't I thought of that? And as soon as I did that and shifted my focus and started drawing more like tattoo themed stuff, that definitely opened up my prospects a lot faster, and people started, I guess, noticing. And that's where that definitely weird connections of like universe things as well, because like one of the main sort of go-to spots back in the day in sort of Sydney hip hop was Next Level Records in the city. Exactly that shop is where the tattoo shop was, like that physical space. And I literally the first time, like, he sent me the address of where to show up and come and have a chat with the boss and meet him.
That's next level.
This feels familiar. So that was a weird sort of full circle connection kind of moment as well.
How has the culture of like tattoo shops and the tattoo industry changed since you started to where it is now?
Oh, dramatically. I think when I first started, there was only probably one definite, like, unaffiliated, unassociated shop in Sydney. There was like just known fact that, like they didn't have any sort of like bikies associated with them or pressuring them or stand over any of that. And as a result, that ended up kind of being the holy grail of where every tattooer wanted to end up being, because like, wouldn't that be a nice little concept to not have that kind of pressure?
Yeah.
Or that, like that, strange or threatening environment, depending on where you were or how far west you went. You know, like it was a very common occurrence. It's like it's the reason insurances are still outrageously high now, is because that was still the era where, you know, rival gangs would just shove a flaming four-wheel drive through the front of your shop if, you know, they had beef, or they, you know, didn't get the money that they wanted, or you know, whatever their reasoning. Like, that wasn't a one-off occurrence that happened on the reg. And as a result, despite, you know, all of the legislations that came along thereafter, which is definitely part of it. So they brought out legislation which has a name that's definitely not the bikie laws, but it basically became colloquially known in media and popular sort of society as the bikie laws, because they it's essentially what they were trying to get rid of. So they brought those in, I think, 2012.
What did that legislation sort of specifically change in your day-to-day world?
Well, it definitely, I think it had the impact that they were trying to have, but only really for people that were being too overt to begin with. So, like, regardless of whether you agree with any person's modality or choice of lifestyle, like all of the fellows that had their businesses set up smartly in the first place, like it's in their cousin's, brother's, sister's, mother's name, and they're never there. They're never at the premises. They're never shown around in colours. Anyone that had their business set up like that still has that business.
Yeah,
you know, it's the people that were like, say, like the environment that I was in, where like it was like loud and proudly like strutting around with their colours and intimidating people and clients and that kind of environment. They were the first to be like, oh, you know, fuck this is too hard, like it's too hard basket, and like move state or move country or wherever they went off to. Because certainly in those environments, like I, you know, would have like like bullet points, you know, like machine gun fingers in your chest, trying to tell you like, no, like you have to tattoo everything that comes in the door. Like you don't get the option of veto. Like if someone comes in wanting, you know, a swastika on their forehead, you do it, you know, because I want that money, you know. That was the mentality.
Talk to me about going from that to starting your own shop.
Kind of like in the same thread as like poaching, how I always said that was because I'm going to steal your secrets, you know, take a little bit from everyone. I definitely took a little bit from everyone from that sort of more boss hierarchical level as well. You know, whether the lesson was good or bad, it's like, oh, like I definitely don't want to be that guy, or I definitely don't want to do it that way. I pulled the same sort of in the same thread. I pulled those little pieces, including down to lots of little nods along the way. Even so, you've probably heard of like Sailor Jerry, quite famous tattooer from that was based in Hawaii, and his little hole in the wall shop in Hawaii had this, like it was super narrow, like the whole shop's about that wide, and this little narrow half door, but the door was yellow and had a porthole in it. That was the reason I made the door yellow of the shop. And I was going to put a porthole in it as well. I just never got around to it.
And what made you want to actually start a shop?
I had the inclination, and the motivation probably a year or so prior, like after leaving the.
What year did you open?
I got the doors open in February 2020, which was champagne. So, and that was a long time coming. So I had the keys, and had started the fit out and everything like for over a year. So I had the keys right at the start of 2019. Like as we know, was kind of short lived. I think we're only open 5 or 6 weeks, and then it was global pandemic time, and we were closed for 6 months. But definitely there's an insane wave insurgence when we first came back from that first COVID lockdown. So yeah, it definitely came in waves kind of like that. So we were super busy in that pocket of time until we were locked down again. I think it was 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. And like in terms of the culture of your shop, what was different about the culture compared to like shops you'd come up in? What were you consciously trying to make different?
I think I was definitely consciously trying to like cultivate an environment where a lot of those things and issues that I had experienced weren't the case. Like one from the perspective of like just that base level of like, that you are a contractor and you are in charge of your own life. Like certainly there's, some boundaries of mutual respect that, like if you can do this, then I can happily do this, and it's more about being proactive of actually having those conversations and seeing where people are at and what they want out of the relationship as well. And it definitely, it still took me a while to get to that. I went through like a couple of sort of big staff changes a couple of times, but that where we ended up in that sort of last couple of years is like by far the closest to that like harmonious sort of zen that like I was hoping to achieve. Like where like just an environment where you're actually working with people you like and want to be around is such a novel concept. Like rather than tolerating someone because you work with them, or what, like the main thing that I was always trying to steer towards was honesty and authenticity with whatever it was that we were talking about or what I was offering, because there's plenty of times and situations and opportunities where I was promised something, like, all right, there's going to be a room for you, there's going to be somewhere for you to stay, etc. And you get there and there is no room, and there's like a blow up bed in the office upstairs or something like that. Like legit, like that's things that I experienced.
Your tattoos?
Yes. As in the ones that I wear or the ones that I execute?
The ones you wear.
Yeah.
Have you done any on yourself?
No. That's something that lots of people ask.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've never been so brave. I think it's for the most part, I'm no longer that flexible, and anywhere that I can reach is already tattooed for the most part. But I think there's definitely like there's a mental state that I want to be in when I'm getting tattoos, and there's a mental state that I want to be in when I'm doing tattoos, and they are not the same.
For sure.
So that's exactly what you're asking for.
Yeah.
When you're tattooing yourself. And
what was the last tattoo you got?
Oh.
How long ago was that?
Maybe my little pineapple, this little guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a little sort of fine line hand poked chubby by my friend and fellow artist, Ajura, who's both the shop manager at my shop, but then went on to do her traditional like philo hand poking as well.
Cool.
Sort of under, again, that's the same sort of thing. Yeah, like she's like, I really wanted to get into this, but like, what do you think? I'm like, fuck yeah, like, let's go, like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Sort of, like encouraged her into that, and she's still doing that now. It's like, got her own space with one of the other artists, Nikita, that was working with us. So those two have a little studio in Piedmont. Yeah.
What was your first tattoo?
My back.
Your back.
Yeah.
How big?
My whole back.
Whole back. Wow.
Yeah. So obviously done in sittings. So, but yeah, it's a little bit of an overdone and dated concept now. But at the time, it was still unique, and not many people had it. But it's not the whole thing, but a big part of it is big angel wings that take up most of my back. It's kind of a nod to several things. I had several people at totally separate different times and walks in my life sort of refer to me as their guardian angel. And then, yeah, a little bit of a, it sort of fell into place as well that on the Scottish side of our heritage, our family motto is kind of the only peaceful one out of like all of them. Like the rest are all like, fuck yeah, war, some kind of, cry to war basically.
Yeah.
Whereas ours sort of loosely translates to like, I learned to look after those in need. It's like, and like, I think more traditionally Latin is like, I learned to secure the unfortunate. But like Latin, it's like Miseria Security Disco.
Okay. And is that something you try and like live?
I feel like I always have, whether I knew that I was doing it or not. I feel like I've always been a carer and a fixer. Like, and that's definitely, at least in part, to do with my neurological wiring, but also, environment and trauma. It's just like, all right, like, how can we like fix the situation so that like whatever this madness that's going on can stop. So I've got quite good at that at a very young age. At de-escalating situations, I was definitely probably better as a child than I became as an adult. Probably mostly because I'd had to been laboring through doing that for 4 adults.
Yeah.
For my whole childhood,
it
wears that fuse out eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when was the last time you tattooed?
Sometime in April.
Okay.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was tattooing up until 2 weeks before I handed the keys back.
Yeah.
So the shop was officially closed end of March, and then I just had a handful of people that I was trying my best to not necessarily finish, but just get more work done. Like I've still got those same handful of projects to finish. I've still got Chloe Barker's sleeve to finish, and another friend and client that's in the Redfern area. They're a bit older, but similar kind of scale size project that I've got to finish on their sleeve. And a couple, like there's another fella that had been traveling over from NZ to get his sleeve done in sections, obviously. And there's probably another like whole day sitting still worth of work still left on his as well, and he's kind of also expressed that he's happy to wait until whenever I'm ready.
Do you feel like it's a book that you've closed on, and you're ready for the next story, or is it a break?
I think on a full-time or a professional constant level, it's definitely closed. And that's sad, but I've probably, among other things, I've spent the last year almost, mourning that.
Yeah. Can you tell me about that decision and that morning?
Yeah, of course. No matter which way that I went, I felt like certain areas of my life or my health weren't getting the attention that they needed. And definitely the more that I kept pouring my energy and pushing through what I now know was severe burnout, the more that I kept pushing through that, the more sort of abilities and skill sets and things started to fall off by the wayside, and I was starting to have issues with that, starting to have issues with just my body, my hands, in particular. I don't know if you've ever ridden dirt bikes or motorbikes and you experience that forearm pump after a long period of riding. That's pretty much what I'm left-handed. That's what my forearm one would feel like definitely at the end of every day, but that longer term, that kind of stiffness and numbness, like it's still there. Like,
Okay.
and it's, I haven't tattooed for almost a year,
Yeah.
but it's only just now in the last month or so started to have slightly more freedom of movement, and so it is coming back,
Mm.
but it's yeah, just genuinely that stiff and that RSI kind of
Yeah. Yeah. It is
use.
debilitating.
Yeah, like
With
just like it's like, well, this is the one thing that I need to do that from to
yeah.
get that from that to that. I kind of need this claw.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
limb. The
yeah,
limbs you use for
and
everything.
like
Just jumping around a little bit, and I think like we might wrap it up as well.
yeah, sure.
What did Kid Matt want to be when he grew up, and where does Kid Matt now want to be?
Yeah, okay. Lots of different things. I think at one stage she wanted to be an architect, which is a bizarre thing for a kid to want to be, but I did. I was definitely always into my cars and my motorbikes. Like that was always a thing, and I think that has just certainly translated. Like when I went from Matchbox to bigger models to making the models yourself to you know then starting to be of age and own cars and buy cars and do up cars. I've certainly owned a lot over the years and own too many now. But yeah, I think because I had always had, you know, at least one, sort of nice thing. And that was like my little outlet, whether it be, going for a ride on my Harley or, I got into hot rods, and like my first little hot rod was absolutely my happy place. I loved having a ski time, jump in that and go for a burn. You just felt sick straight away. Um, and those things were also stuff that fell
Hmm.
by the wayside and got neglected when I started to be like trying to have, a full time relationship and a full time business and everything like that. Before that, I was actively, outside of work things involved in that kind of stuff. Like I was in a car club and going to like events and like car events, even while I was overseas. It was something that I always did, particularly loved the LA car scene. So always like that was one of the first things where I made connections.
And have you started bringing that back in?
And yeah, like I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the next chapter of where I want to be. One, I want to be in a physical and mental space where I'm like physically able to do some of those things because
Mm.
one, it's quite debilitating.
Getting under the body and
Yeah,
everything.
getting
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
in under and in and around shit. And it's just
Yeah.
like as soon as I go to start to do any of that stuff now, I'm instantly transported to when I was Kid Matt and working on like cars like with the old boy. But his way of teaching was essentially him sitting here like this, sucking darts and coffees, and yeah, do that. Like, and he knew what he was talking about. He just wasn't going to be the guy to do it because he was kind of built like I am now.
Sure.
And yeah, he had a wiry little kid that could reach in the gaps and was much more flexy. And I was like, that makes so much more sense now. Like I'm like, I would love to have a wiry little fucking urchin to just direct like, yes, like this is what I'm trying to do. It's up there. I know it's there. Do this. Hold the nut. Yeah. So I think, yeah, I want to get back to like that kind of, yeah, like play, because yeah, like I've got nothing else going on. Yeah, I may as well do the stuff that I enjoy.